Welcome back to What Arty Noobs. This is the Object 261. It's the Tier 10 Soviet SPG located on the southwest spawn of Karelia. This one is under the command of pitro123 of the GAL1A clan. Now this is the replay that's probably caused a lot of friction because even some members of What Arty Noobs have actually left the group simply because they didn't want to continue discussing their techniques and way that they play. The reason that this video has actually come up is down to the fact of what actually happens in this game. Now, got an 18cm howitzer mounted on IS-7 hull, and you notice that Petro just fired the round in, didn't even bother to look and see what happened to the shell. He is racking up an awful lot of stun assist on the enemy tank, and in fact the enemy object 140 was wiped out, so we don't even know where he hit the 140. All we know is that he's picked up 328 hit points of damage and 1572 hit points of stun assist. And he's done it again, fired the round in, got 278 hit points of damage, but we didn't get to see the enemy tank hit. I mean, if I wanted to do videos of people driving, aiming, and then shooting, and then looking away after they fired, then I could do that myself. I could put plenty of videos up and claim that I've actually got huge amounts of damage. Now, that actually was a penetrating shot from the 18cm there. He managed to get 814. The alpha on this Arty is 800, so he got a high roll. So he's already racked up a fair amount of damage. 1,420 of actual damage, 1,572 stun assist. The problem is mainly in the technique and what he's actually doing. You see there, he flinches, he looks away. But he did actually hit the AMX M454. It's a tier 10 game, obviously, with tier 10 tanks in it. So why am I complaining about him firing and then looking away immediately? Because I can understand if somebody wants to relocate because they don't want to be counter-batteried. But no one's tried to counter-battery Petro yet. Not at all. And you notice he fired at the Kampfpanzer and then looked completely away. Didn't even bother to see the shell. Just looks elsewhere on the map. Up in the northwest corner, we can see a Super Conqueror fighting out against our ST2 and Chieftain. IS-7 about to die, I should think. Yep, there he's gone. Rounds out the Super Conqueror. Now notice that he didn't look away after that shot. He did after the others, but he didn't look away. Probably because he didn't want the shell to actually hit one of his own people. Okay, over here we've got a Jaeger all on its own, sitting near the enemy cap area. Nope, decided to change his aim again. Got the Super Conk, and we've got these two tanks here he cannot hit because the rock face is actually in the way. The Super Conk is still there. He's lining up a shot on him. And he did fire, but he looked away after he fired at the Super Conqueror. Got it near, but just stunned the guy. And now this Chieftain's about to die because he's going to get mugged by 3 tanks simultaneously. And there's nothing Petro can really do. But he has gone down to a shot from the Hori. And now our Leopard 1's in danger because he's all alone against 2 opponents. And that's going to be a bit of a problem. He just got stunned. He's trying to use the 121 for cover, but the 121 finishes him off. But getting back to what Petro did, you notice how sometimes he fires, he does look. Other times he fires, he doesn't look. He looks away, he flinches. After he fires, he looks away. It's almost like he doesn't want to see the damage. He feels guilty about doing damage in an Arty. And that's a sure sign of somebody who's actually a tank driver. Because if you're an Arty player, you never look away because, after all, you want to see the damage because the damage actually means points. And you want to try and hit the enemy. And if you know you've wounded them in a particular way, then you know that they're a good target for the next shot. Well, that one splashed the AMX M454. I mean, I have this strong theory that the reason why people look away is psychologically they don't want to see the damage. They flinch. Just like somebody who aims away at a court martial or a firing squad, they don't want to shoot the person who's been sentenced to death. They would much rather shoot elsewhere and not be blamed for the person's death. They don't want it on their conscience. It's just like a tank driver. They'll aim away or look away because they are a tank player. They're not an Arty player, natural born, a dedicated Arty player. They don't want to see Arty damaging tanks because they're a tank driver themselves. That's a good shot. That one hit the rear of the AMX M454, and there's a kill there. So I've come to this conclusion that it's a psychological thing, that people who are dedicated Arty players, who play Arty a lot, like to see the damage done because, of course, obviously it shows their skill. And those who are not natural Arty players, who are actually tank drivers, who are playing Arty because they do so every now and then, feel guilty about doing damage to tanks with an Arty, and therefore they flinch, they look away. They don't want to admit that they've seen some damage, they've done some damage as an Arty player. Now, I've actually had to record this video twice because I tried to record this video using the standard methods we use, which is when somebody flinches and looks away, you press the free cam button, which if I do now, you see, it just takes me to the outside of the camera, outside of the Arty. Before, if I press the free cam button, what would actually happen is we would still see what we're looking at, but instead of actually going to the outside of the Arty, you would actually see or have control of the mouse. So I could actually then look around, change the aim using free cam to what I wanted to see rather than what the actual player wants. But at the moment, there's a fault with Aslains, which means I cannot use free cam during the battle whilst the replay's running, only to look at the outside of the vehicle. Like you see, he's done it again. He's looked away, but he got a definite hit for 259 on the AMX M454. Now, why does he feel guilty about hitting that AMX M454 that he has to look away instantly? Oh, I don't want to hit this person, but I have. And, you know, he aimed at the guy, but he doesn't want to see the damage because he feels guilty for it. So he's lining up the shot. Gets another direct hit. He didn't look away this time. He wasn't sure if he was going to get that one, but he didn't look away. So it's not all the time he does it, but Pitro tends to do it most of the time. Now, will he do it on this Minotauro? He's almost loaded. He can't see the Minotauro at the moment, so he'll probably try a shot, and then when he's done it, he won't look away. Yep, he didn't look away. This game's almost over. The team definitely beaten the enemy because they're up by 4 tanks now. They found one of the enemy Arty. They're about to find the other one. And this Minotauro up on the horseshoe, well, he's facing 2 opponents. Now, he didn't look away on that one. Did get a good direct hit. The Leopard's just to the other side of the rock. The Minotauro can't get at him, but if the Leopard gets behind him, then he's done for because he won't be able to outturn that Leopard. And the Leopard's now got him well and truly. And you see that Pitro looks away, knowing full well that's the case. In fact, the Minotauro did manage to get in front of him again. And he fired that last round, and the Minotauro's still alive, but not for long. He's been taken out. But you notice that Pitro did flinch. He looked away after he fired at the Minotauro. And now he's off trying to get to the other end of the map to kill the enemy Arty, who's now died. So that's the end of the game. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was an ace tanker game for pitro123 in the Object 261. He got a Bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 8. He got a Gauze medal for doing more damage, exceeding 8 times the hit points for his own vehicle. And he got a Confederate as well for hitting more of the enemy than anyone else on his team. At least 6 tanks subsequently taken out by other teammates. His win rate on that one, 3,850, which is Super Unicum standard. We look at the team score, we can see he actually did get the highest damage in the game, but he didn't get 20% of the enemy hit pool, which is why he didn't pick up a high caliber as well. He got 4,927 hit points of damage in that game, the second highest being the Batchat 25 ton, who got 4,457 hit points. He picked up a Faden's medal and a Top Gun as well to boot, so he used his last round to kill the last enemy, and I think that last enemy was the enemy Arty that was hiding in the corner. The third highest damage was the Object 140 on the enemy team, or at least one of them, because I think there was 2 Object 140s. The first one, of course, was the one that died very early on, not getting any kills or any damage whatsoever. He got 4,412 hit points, the third place man, which is a very decent score. But sadly, it's not a winner because his team basically collapsed. When it came to kills, you can see the high score was that Batchat 25 ton. He got a Top Gun, as I said, 6 kills to him. 3 kills went to the TVP T5051, and 2 kills went to the T95 FE4201 Chieftain on his own team. And on the enemy team, their Object 140, their Hurry 3, and the Minotauro all got 2 kills. And of course, we can see that pitro123 didn't get any kills at all, but that did actually help him to get the Confederate. When it came to base XP, he's in second place because the Batchat managed 1,280 base experience points, 1,131 went to pitro123, and 1,015 went to the TVP T5051. So only 3 players managed over 1,000 base, and Pitro was in there. He fired all 20 rounds of ammunition. That last shot he fired at the Minotauro was his last piece of ammo. 13 direct hits on the enemy, 1 penetrating shot. Of course, that was the one that he fired on the AMX M454. And he also got 21 splash, damage of 4,927 hit points, all of it at more than 300 meters. Damaged 80 the enemy, killed 0, but he got 4,208 hit points of stun assist off 20 stuns. On a premium count, he made a profit of 30,937 credits from that game, and he picked up 7 bonds as well, and 1,696 XP. So a decent game if it weren't for the fact that he kept looking away after he'd shot. Now, we've had this problem before, and as I said, what we would do is we would try and use FreeCam, which was available through Aslains mods, so that I could take control of the camera, and even if the player looked away, we could keep looking to see what actually happened to the shell when it hit the target. So if somebody was a very quick relocator because they wanted to avoid counter battery, we could handle that. And in fact, actually, people who are trying to avoid a counter battery can move their Arty even if they are still looking at the shell as it's going in towards the target, because after all, your movement doesn't affect the actual shell, the flight of the shell. You could just press your W key and or your A or D keys and turn or move away from your firing position so that even if you fired around, the enemy doesn't get a chance to nail you because they won't know where you are. You will have moved, but you're still watching what happens to the shell, so we get an idea of what you did if you succeeded with your ammunition. But unfortunately, Pitro has sent this replay in at a moment when Aslains has failed us, and we do not have the ability to go to FreeCam. So I can't stay with the picture, and consequently we're getting videos where people, or this video specifically, where he looks away after he shoots and we don't actually get to see what happens with the shot. This is not the first video where this has happened. There was another video. I'm not going to blame that player. He probably knows who he is because I've done the video already. It's already on the channel. It involved a player who also likes to go in out a lot when he's playing. He fiddles with his mouse button, something that you can avoid if you've got FreeCam. We could take control of the camera for them, even if they've got this habit of playing with their mouse wheel, so that the picture is stable. Because playing the view going in and out really upsets some players, and it did happen in that video. I'm not going to say who it was, but they will know who they were. But in this video, I have to take exception at this because Petro and the others have known I've complained about this before and said that if you do this, I cannot use the video because obviously if I can't control the picture and you look away, what is there for the viewers to watch? And it's not just the viewer that you're depriving of the damage that you're actually doing to the enemy. It's also the player who actually does watch to see what happens when they play their game. And yet I've done your replay, which failed because obviously I can't present a video to the public if they can't see what's being done. I mean, I could do that and fake it myself. Anybody could. But if you're depriving somebody else of a chance of having a video on YouTube, then obviously there's no point in me doing your replay. And put it this way, if you had a tank replay and you were aiming at another tank with your gun, would you look away after you fired the gun? Of course you wouldn't. You'd look at the shell to see if it hit the enemy tank and then, if necessary, fire another round. The fact of the matter is, it's solely a thing for Arty. That people who play Arty, if they flinch, if they look away, it's because they don't want to see the actual damage they're doing as an Arty player. And that indicates to me, psychologically, that they're probably a tank player playing Arty, but not a serious Arty player. A serious Arty player would never look away, would never flinch, wants to see the damage, wants to see where the shell actually lands on the enemy tank, because they want to gather intelligence from that. They want to know, is this guy damaged on his tracks? Did he fix his tracks? Was he hit on his engine deck? Is his engine damaged? Did you hit him in a particular place where it could have knocked out his commander or his gunner? All the information you can actually gather from knowing where the shell actually landed on the enemy tank. That's why you want to see exactly where the shell hits. You want to gather intelligence from that shot. But you can't do that if you look away all the time. The moment you fire and you just look away, all of that's lost. And it kind of ruins the game. So what I've said for What Arty Noobs, and I've announced this already on the Facebook page, is that if you send in a replay and you flinch and you keep looking away, I will have to say, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do any more replays for you on What Arty Noobs. So if you do send in a replay where you flinch all the time, sorry, but we won't be doing it. Even if you promise that you will stop and change that and you still carry on doing it in the future, again, you're wasting other people's chances to have their video on YouTube. And so consequently, I'm saying this and I'm going to enforce it from now on. If you send in a replay and I cannot adjust it because there's no free cam, then I'm just going to reject the videos from there on in from that player and they won't be done. I will do videos for people who do look and see what happens to their shell, because after all, that's what people want to see. They want to see the damage actually being done by Arty. They don't want to see somebody flinching, looking away, and then suddenly find themselves staring at a bunch of trees whilst the shell is actually hitting a target somewhere else. So please do not flinch. If you don't want to change your method, the way you play, by all means, stay what you're doing. Carry on playing exactly the way you want to play. But if you do that, please be aware that I cannot do any more replays for you, simply because your method of play is not conducive to actually getting a video done. It doesn't work. So from now on, please do not flinch. But if you do flinch, sorry, we won't be doing any more replays. And if you do happen to flinch when you're playing tanks, please do send me a replay so I can actually watch you doing that, because I don't believe there's any player out there who actually flinches when they play. I mean, when they play tanks. I mean, by flinching, what I mean is you look at an enemy tank, you aim at them, you dial in, you fire the shot and you look away. I mean, come on, be realistic. Does any player actually look away from the enemy tank they've just fired at with their tank? You've got to be very, very silly to do that. You might need to fire another shot at them to kill them. And if you've looked away, you've got to then aim back, dial in, fire again. Nobody does that. Everybody aims at the target, looks at the target, dials in, shoots, and if necessary, they shoot again. But they watch what happens to the shell to see if it hits the target or if it misses the target, so they can fire again. They don't flinch. They don't look elsewhere. They don't look into the trees. They don't then turn your turret back and say, oh, I didn't kill him. I'll fire again. I think it's only a thing for Arty because Arty does take so long to reload. But you've got that ability to consider doing something else whilst you're waiting for the shell to go back in the breach. You can't fire again immediately. But the point I'm making is very valid. A tank driver would never look away from his target until that target's dead or until he's disabled it enough that his teammates can then deal with it. A tank driver would keep watching its target until it was gone or until it's no longer a threat. They would never flinch. So please, if you are going to flinch, be aware, because I won't be doing more videos for those flinchers. I will only be doing videos for people who watch their target and see the damage done, because they're the true Arty players, the real Arty players, who've got no qualms about shooting an Arty and hitting a target. Thanks for watching.